So the Concept 5 is top of the tree right now, and I will tell you just the same as I did with the WZ1321 video, it's not worth the grind. So you can click off right now if you wanted that video. However, if you stick around, we'll be going through each tank, starting from tier 5 up to tier 10, and going through their stats, showing you how they play in-game, and also just generally talking about the line, because there may be a few hidden gems along the way. So starting out at the tier 5 with the AEC. Now, this is an armoured car, as you can clearly tell. It even says it in the name. And this might actually be one of the only ones that says armoured car in all of the entire line. And now I am not a tank expert or armoured car expert or infantry fighting vehicle expert to know the difference between what is classed as a tank and then a car or an armoured car, an infantry fighting vehicle and stuff like that. So if you do know in the comments down below, I'd actually quite like to know. Either way, we have this thing at tier 5 and I won't lie, it's not that bad. Because to start things off with, you get the stock gun, which has 60 damage, which is really not very good. Yes, we can all agree on this. But then the upgraded one has 90 damage with very, very similar rate of fire. Or even though that you might think, well, actually, Max, that's not really similar at all. It's only within a second of each other. And then if you do put a rammer on it, you're going to get pretty close to what this can do. So with the upgraded gun, you actually get more DPM, more accuracy, although not by much. And the aiming time is roughly the same. It's actually slightly more. But this is only at tier 5, and it won't take you long to grind up through this tank and get it fully elited, and then you will have access to this gun overall. Now it is time for the obligatory, yes, I'm on a press account, but I'm not using the 6 skill crew or stuff like that. I'm playing all of these tanks as if we were grinding them, meaning that I do not have access to the field mods. They are technically fully field modded out, as you can see here, but all of these are exactly the same where I have not picked any field mods. So yes, I will gain the bonuses of the permanent bonus down here, as you can tell, for each one of these tanks, as much as they will give, but I haven't chosen any field mods on them. Just the same as if I do have access to a second loadout, I won't be able to use that. I will never use that second loadout. So I'm playing all of these as if I was grinding them, and the crew represents that as well. The crew is as much as I can get away with without making it so that you have extra perks. Because I still want to show you how good the tank can be, but also then not have like 6 skills and then it kind of convolutes everything. So they all have camo, they all have repairs, they all have brothers in arms, and then they do have safe stowage, intuition, and they also have a recon and situational awareness, as well as firefighting. And yes, I already know what people are going to say in the comments about the intuition being here and it's fully trained, that this would only be 50% trained if we were grinding. Deal with it. Anyway, moving back onto the AEC, for this vehicle I played with optics, rammer and vents. I think that this is the best loadout overall. You get good enough view range. You could maybe ditch the vents for binos, because view range is super important down at this tier, because you can outspot a lot of people. And not many people will be able to then outspot you, because view range is very limited. The stationary camo is 28%, which is not good, not bad. It's kind of just whatever. It's definitely not something that you would think it would have, especially with something at tier 5 where it's usually quite a small tank, but this is actually quite a big vehicle overall, especially if we then take into consideration something like this. Yeah, this is quite a large vehicle overall. And as you can see, I do have 2.4k DPM, 0.34 dispersion, 1.7 second aim time, 10 degrees of gun depression, which is super nice, and 2.2 second reload. So honestly, for a tier 5, this is actually kind of okay. It's not outstanding by any means, but it's definitely not a bad vehicle. And I think for grinding through this, it should be fairly pleasant. So to give the AEC a rating at the end of this, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's not deserving of anything less, in my opinion, because it does stuff pretty well. And for a tank that you just want to grind through, it's actually absolutely fine. Next up, we have the Staghound at tier 6. Now, your stock gun is actually the gun from the previous tank that you had fully upgraded with this quickfire 6-pounder gun. But you can get an upgrade to the 75mm gun, which you should definitely get. Because even though that you miss out on a little bit of DPM, your alpha damage goes up, which is quite important, especially as you're going higher up the tiers. Because as much as it might be nice for DPM that you have really high DPM with a smaller gun, it's just not as nice when you're hitting someone for only 90 damage, in comparison to what you could be doing for 125. Your penetration also goes up to 138, although not really that much. The standard round is only 17 pen more, and the premium round is only 10 pen more. So it's not really like it's a massive jump in penetration. And to be honest, you probably won't even notice the difference in the penetration, especially when you're just farming people at mid to close range. But overall, the gun is a little bit nicer. It has 0.38 accuracy base. The aim time goes up, yes, but not really too drastically that it's then catastrophic. And overall, this gun is just a little bit nicer. As you can see, the same thing applies again to the equipment. We are using vents, rammer, and optics. And you'll notice that the vents is now in the first slot because we do have access to the bonus slot. And for those of you that keep wondering about why in different videos I might put, say, bounty optics in this slot and not bounty vents or something like that, it's because the bonus slot only applies to standard equipment. So if you're using bond or bounty equipment, even if the bounty equipment hasn't been upgraded yet, you will not get the slot bonus. So only the standard equipment can be affected from the slot bonus, whichever it may be. But overall, much the same has been happening with the tier 5 that you now move up into the tier 6. It's just a little bit nicer to play. It's definitely not groundbreaking. The upgrade path so far is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's done pretty well at doing that, because the stag count is just the same thing, but just a bit nicer. Again, this is 2.5k DPM, 0.33 dispersion, 1.9 second aim time, minus 7 degrees of gun depression, so you do lose 3 degrees, but that's still workable, minus 7. And your reload time does go up slightly, however, you do have a bit more alpha. Your view range goes up to 458 meters, which is lovely. You're now over that max spotting range cap, and now you can start devaluing anything that goes above that 445 meters view range. And your camera rating has also gone up to now 31.4%, which means that this tank is just nice to play again. It's not insulting, it's not annoying, it's kind of pleasant. Not really too much to be worried about. And it's kind of weird because comparison to the rest of the line, the lower tiers are really quite nice. So to give the Staghound a rating, like a 7 out of 10 again. It's just a nice tank to play. I don't think that you need to give it any less than that. I don't think you need to give it any more than that. It does its job and it does it well. It plays a role of support, but can also sometimes be aggressive if it needs to be, although it doesn't like doing that. And it does that role very well. So 7 out of 10 for the Staghound. For tier 7, we have the FSV Scheme A, or the FSV. And once again, you'll see a trend where the stock gun for this tank is the fully upgraded gun on the Staghound, and vice versa. The Staghound's stock gun is the fully upgraded gun on the AEC. So this gun is exactly the same. It doesn't even get a little pen upgrade or anything like that, or DPM upgrade. It is purely exactly the same stats as the previous tank's gun. Now, you do get a choice of a few different guns. You can upgrade straight away before you get the turret, and this is quite annoying because you do actually have to grind through this gun to get to the turret, and then obviously you can then go and get the Saladin or get the M6 gun, which is the top gun. But this gun will give you a little bit of an upgrade in regards to the penetration, but also the dispersion. However, you do lose out on a fair amount of DPM. Although your alpha damage is up again, it's not up by a lot. So you probably won't really notice the difference between 125 alpha and 135 alpha because, you know, plus minus 25%, your rolls will be all over the place. Chances of that actually, you know, you seeing that alpha difference is quite slim. But if you do grind through the turret and then you go and grab the top gun, you'll see a very big increase in what you can actually achieve. And compared to this other gun, it is pretty much night and day the difference. This top gun is super, super good, and I do recommend everybody to go out and get it because it has 185 standard pen and 220 premium pen with 1.9k DPM and 0.33 dispersion. Coming from the 0.36 that we had on the previous gun, that is quite a big upgrade, and the aim time is going down. So this gun is a flat out big upgrade from what you're previously using. And the alpha again has gone up to 150. And I'm not going to lie to you, this might be one of the cutest tanks in the game. Look at it. I think that this is one of the best looking tanks in the entire game. It looks insane. And I'm probably going to go ahead and buy it on my main account just to never play it and just look at it. But as you can tell from the stats, we are up on the dispersion all the way down to 0.3 now, which is super, super accurate for a tier 7. 2.3k DPM. We're starting to go down in the DPM now, whereas, you know, previously from the Staghound, we have 2.5, we have to nearly, well, 2.4 for the tier 5. Then you go to 2.5, and then we're going back down to 2.3. However, your alpha damage has gone up, so it's not really like it's a massive detriment at this stage. It still feels quite nice, but know that we are slowly going down in the DPM. You also have absolutely fine view range at 459 meters, and the camo rating is super nice at 44%. However, we are now using low noise exhaust, rammer, and optics. The reason for this is purely that this tank, and most of these tanks in particular, they need a bit more camo. And to play their role, at least in my opinion, to play their role effectively, this is the best type of equipment setup that you can use, because they want to be kind of sniping at the back, or at least midway sniping at the back, and just putting in the pressure as and when they can, being that support role. And the best way to do that is to get behind a few bushes, use your camo rating to full effect, and you still have the view range there as well to help you out so that you're not completely blind, and then you got the rammer to boost up that DPM. However, there is one thing that I will say now, and that is that I feel like it's more for the tanks with 3 wheels than 2 wheels, but you really start to feel the lack of agility. So for the armored car, or the AEC, and the Staghound, you feel it, but it's at tier 5 and 6. You're not really too bothered by it. But at tier 7, tanks are then starting to move a lot faster at medium tanks, and also then the Saladin, the G-Saw 1006, and the Concept, they all start to be more agile than this tank. In a straight line, this tank, and as well as all the others, are completely fine. 60 top speed is rapid, and 30 in reverse. I believe these all get, if not the fastest top speed in reverse, or at least close to it. They're easily top 5 of each tier. I think the Concept actually has the fastest. But for this tank in particular, and the others, turning on the spot, turning in close proximity or tight corners, it's annoying. It's very annoying. And you might think to yourself, well, that's not really that much of a problem. It is, because there's lots and lots of times when you're going up a ridgeline and you just want to make minute movements to try and get into a better position, and you just can't, because as soon as you turn a little bit, you then have to overturn more and then come back again, and it's super frustrating, which is why a lot of people don't enjoy these tanks. It is because of their sluggish nature, myself included. So for the FSV, what rating do I give it? I mean, I kind of like this tank. I think that this is a nice vehicle, and I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 again. The reason being that it's not like more than that or even less than that is because I do think that it still has a good gun in combined with the DPM. It's not catastrophic DPM levels yet that it's unplayable or not that competitive. I think that it plays its role very well. It has the camo, it has the top speed, and it has the gun. So for that reason, 7 out of 10. I was inclined to maybe go a little bit lower, but I think 7 is giving it justice. For tier 8, we have the Saladin. Now, this is where it starts to go a little bit downhill. Straight away, you actually have the previous tank's gun, but both of them. So when you are grinding the FSV, I would 100% recommend you get this gun, the M6, because it is then right here on the Saladin, ready for you to get. And then you just need to grind the turret and then the other gun. So if you are grinding through this, make sure you get the M6 gun on the FSV before you go and get the Saladin. Because then that way you will have access to this gun. You actually have more DPM this time as you go up in a tier. So this does actually compensate you a little bit in comparison to what you have here, where, as you can see, it's slightly worse DPM. But that then means that you can just start grinding towards the turret straight away, and then you can grab this big gun, the 90mm. Now, this is where you get a very good penetration increase and also alpha damage increase, and you slowly start to go down in DPM though. Not by much. At this stage, it's not really that bad, because 1.8k, if you use a rammer, it goes up to a good level. So you have 221 base pen, and then 255 premium pen, 250 alpha, 0.33 dispersion, 1.9 second aim time. It's really nice. Which then means that in game you have 2300 DPM. You are slightly down for what you had on the FSV. However, alpha damage has gone up, so it's roughly the same. And your accuracy is exactly the same as well as the previous tank. You still go just as fast, and your view range has also gone up to 471 meters. Your camo rating is slowly going back down again. You're now at 40%. However, with 40% camo, that's more than good enough for a medium tank. But as I said, this is where it starts to go a little bit downhill. It's again very annoying. It's a slug of a vehicle, and it's very, very large. Like, this is quite a big target. In comparison to what you were just playing previously, you then have this thing. It has a big old turret, big old long turret, and the hull is quite long as well. Whereas with this, it's quite short, quite stout. It's a good size for just being annoying at longer ranges and being hidden as well. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not horrible camo rating, as I've already said, and it's not a horrible tank in general, but it is starting to show you what the line is turning into. So to give this tank a rating, 6 out of 10. I would go more, however, I really don't like how annoying this whole mechanic is with the wheels. It's quite frustrating to play, and it can be really annoying. Even though that the gun is fine, it lacks DPM in areas, and especially at tier 8, it would be nice to have some more, because there's other tanks that have, 320 alpha that then have like 2,500 base DPM, or not base, but maximum DPM. So it would be nice to have more DPM with this alpha damage, or you just up the alpha damage to give it around about 320 or something like that, and it would be quite good. So I think a 6 out of 10 is where this tank belongs, and we're now going to move onto tier 9. The G-Saw 1006 Scheme 7 is the tier 9 in question. Now, this vehicle I've already mentioned in my most accurate medium tanks list, and this was number 5. It's a very, very accurate gun. You do get access to the previous tank's top gun, as you can see here. Your DPM goes up slightly because you are now a tier up, so that's nice, but not really too relevant because it's only slightly up. But the real one that you want to get is this gun, the 390 Alpha, 248 standard pen, 315 premium pen, and 2000 base DPM with 0.32 accuracy, 1.9 second aim time as well. This all then translates into 2.5k DPM with 0.28 accuracy, 1.6 second aim time, minus 8 degrees of gun depression, and a reload time which is quite annoying for a 390 Alpha, especially at tier 9 now. However, the view range has now gone up to a stage where we can now ditch the optics and now go for vents over it, and then we have vents, rammer, and low noise. But that still means that we're only at 32% camo somehow. Coming from the previous tank, which had 40% with low noise exhaust, and now we're using low noise exhaust with vents, and it's still substantially lower than what we were just using. The view range is obviously more than enough now at 451, and that is excluding optics, but this camo rating is just abysmal. It's a massive tank. Like, look at it. It is even bigger than the Saladin, and coming from something like this, you can see why I'm saying that the lower tiers all the way up to about the tier 7 are kind of okay and nice, but then the Saladin, and then you get the Scheme 7, it starts just becoming a little bit, yeah. So yeah, this tank, to give it a rating, 5 out of 10. It's, the thing is, with this entire line, they're not horrible tanks. They're not unplayable by any means, but they're not good. No one is going to call the Concept or any of these tanks, well, Saladin to the Concept, good tanks. They are just underpowered and not as competitive as the rest of the tanks that they all see. And for that reason, it's a 5 out of 10. They sit in the middle. They're a very, very mid tank. But moving up to, once again, the crown jewel of the line, the Concept number 5. Now, this is a very, very strange tank because it's actually not that bad if we think about it. Because this vehicle goes more than fast enough, 70, and in reverse it goes 35. It's really, really quite fast. This is with using a turbo. I have actually ditched the low noise exhaust entirely now because it's pretty irrelevant. Because, yeah, 32% camo is not good. And that's exactly what it gets on this tank as well with low noise exhaust. It's not a good tank regarding camo. So we are using turbo, rammer, and vents, and we are moving up to bounty now because it is a tier 10. I think that most people at tier 10 will put bounty on their things if they have it. As you can tell, 466 meters view range, which is more than good enough. And this is where it then starts to fall downhill a little bit, but also is really good. 2.8k DPM. Abysmal. Horrible. Just all the negative words you can possibly describe this tank as regarding DPM can be used here. I don't understand why its DPM is this low. In comparison to every other tank, this nearly gets 1,000 less DPM than the Leo 1. 1,000. And its alpha damage is 10 more. 10 more alpha and you get 1,000 less DPM. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. But okay, fair enough. That's me comparing it to the Leo with this field mod chosen. So 800 less DPM, let's say. But the thing is, it gets 0.27 accuracy. It gets 1.5 second aim time. But the reload time is just abysmal. It's so bad regarding DPM that it's just not fun to play. Not to mention how absolutely sluggish it is. And you try and do turbo to increase the turn speed or anything, and this tank just doesn't do it. Not to mention that any perks that you put on this vehicle, such as clutch braking, don't work either. I don't even know who the driver is. Where are you? Clutch braking will not work on this tank. It has been tested by different people. IRM does not work on this vehicle. It has again been tested on wheeled vehicles. It does not work for the turn radius. It is horrible to play this tank in tight situations. But then you're on the cusp of just being so close to being a nice vehicle that it's just so annoying to play it. Because if this did have DPM, if this did have a little bit more agility in the close quarter situations, it would be so nice to play. It wouldn't be OP. It's a massive box of a vehicle. Look at it. Anything can hit this. But if it had those features, it would be nice to play. Speaking about the gun, you have 260 standard pen with 1,230 base shell velocity. And then the premium rounds have 318 penetration with 1,420 shell velocity. Meaning that if you want to be the ultimate sniper, you do this and you are very, very capable. But you still don't have the DPM. Another thing that you need to make sure that you are aware of, though, is that this does not have good HE. It's not like the Leo 1 in that regard where you can take, say, like 10 HE, especially considering this tank doesn't get that many shells. So if this tank, you can't really afford to do anything that you could do with the Leo 1 regarding the HE. I'd say 5 is your absolute maximum, and probably not even that much. You should probably do something like this if you were really being kind of smart about it, because 55 pen is not really that great. Surprised I even penned, to be honest. I tracked him. I mean, these two are just going to get bombarded by artillery now for the whole game. Man, like, okay. I mean, I get the tracking, but Jesus Christ. That wasn't even... I aimed at the turret of that guy, didn't I? And yet it somehow still hit the track. That went so far wide. This Aerodon's gonna die. I'm not too sure what that Batchat's plan was. Like, he kept peeking the same spot and then expected a different outcome. I'm not too sure. Foch 155 is the only tank that hasn't been spotted yet. What on earth is this guy doing? I didn't even get spotted because I was behind a bush at the time of shooting as well. Nice. That's very, very nice. Okay, right. Can we just kill this K91 now? I mean, there could be a Foch 155, sure, but... You know, we like to enjoy ourselves around here. I'm sure I'll out DPM the K91, right? Okay, not bad. What on earth has this guy done to his Progetto? Look at the camo on that. What on earth is going on? Oh. Wow, who'd have thought the Foch 155 would be at the back of the map? Very cool game. Very, very cool. So finally, to give the Concept 5 a rating, 5. It's so close to being great. It's so close to being great. But why would you play it? And that goes for every single tank in this line. Apart from maybe up to the tier 7, up from the Saladin to the Concept 5, why would you play these vehicles? Nearly every other medium tank is just better than you and probably more fun than you to play. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.